Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, Inside Texas Football Morning Live, Ohio State Week. Before we get into it, guys, we got a deal for you right now. $1 for 7 days flash sale, promoting only during this week with Ohio State. So make sure to go join Inside Texas today and get you a little discount. Come see what we're doing over there. It's a lot of fun. All right. So today on the docket, Texas landed Shaw, a second defensive tackle, really big position in need because we lost a lot of guys to the portal, and we'll have guys graduating, so we'll talk about that. And then Schefter, I believe it was Schefter that mentioned that the NFL is interested in Sark. We'll talk about that. And then, of course, always the upcoming Ohio State matchup. Any comments you guys have, feel free to take us off course immediately. You guys control the show. Good morning, Roaster. Good morning, Elio. All right. Let's talk Shaw first. Charlie, you did a good piece on IT this morning, kind of talking about his fit, his background, his size. You know, he's going to be a run guy for us, all that. So how are you feeling about Shaw?
Man, look, it gives you a big guy in the trenches. Everybody looks at his size. It used to be a time when people get happy about having a big guy. Now people worry about, can he move? Can he do this? Like, he's going to come here and be able to do his job. One gap, control the line of scrimmage, let the linebackers run free behind him and make plays, right, and clean everything up. You look at what Bill Norton was able to do this year, right, in situations on short yardage, goal line, clogging the lane and letting guys run free and make plays, especially on like 4th and 1, stuff like that. So Shaw will be able to come here and do the exact same thing, right? He may not play all 3 downs. That's fine. We may not need him, right? We need big bodies to stop the run in the SEC, and he provides that. And so everybody looks at his stats and say, well, he doesn't produce much. He's a guy that doesn't – all his stuff does not show up in the stat sheet. Right, he does all the dirty work, holding it down to double teams, anchoring down on the line of scrimmage. And so that's what he's going to do when he comes here at Texas. And I think Coach Baker and the staff will get the most out of him.
Eric, what did you think about this latest edition?
I loved it. He's on a really good trend line. His best football is probably far out in front of him. Probably is going to be getting paid a lot more than Texas NIL by the time he's playing his best football, as long as he stays motivated. He had a sort of a reputation for being a little lazy his first couple of years. He came in with very high expectations as a 5-star to North Carolina, one of the highest rated players of all time for them. But he's really found himself in the last offseason. Lost a lot of weight, looked a lot quicker. I think there's even more playmaking upside, certainly, than Bill Norton possessed this year. Bill was obviously very good and instrumental in the goal line stands that Texas had this season. But I think this guy has more potential. Here's one time when I do care about the lofty high school ranking, even though the production maybe isn't what everybody's looking for, because that indicates his baseline athleticism and size and power and all those things. Yeah. And now we're actually starting to see it with our own eyes in his junior year. So I think his best football is in front of him. Clearly, the staff thinks that he's going to work. We've seen sort of this happen before with T'Vondre Sweat, where there was a couple off seasons. You think, all right, this guy's going to transfer. He sticks it out. His second to last year, he plays quite well. You're surprised he comes back because he certainly looks like a mid-round draft pick. I would have had him pretty high after that second to last season. And then he comes back and dominates. So I'm not saying he's going to be T'Vondre Sweat, but I'm not sure we know exactly what he's going to be, other than at a bare minimum, he's going to be a solid to good addition. He might end up being a great addition.
Yeah. And so you guys are thinking more in the vein of being a run stopper, or do you guys think he's versatile there in the pass rush too?
He's looking lighter on his feet. I think another year of strength and conditioning where if he really hammers it down, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, North Carolina doesn't work as hard as they do at Texas. We've heard from a number of transfers, or not me personally, but our sources have, whether they come from Georgia, LSU, whether they come from Alabama. Nobody's outworking Texas. Texas works harder. I find it hard to believe that North Carolina would be working hard. So I think that this guy is going to he's going to get introduced to an even a higher level of work, and I think we're going to see the best out of this kid. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. He could redshirt, but then what's the value of that? He's already played 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, the problem at Texas too, you come to Texas, they make you run.
Yeah, he's going to lose weight, and it's going to be hot. I know it's definitely warm in North Carolina, but it's tough to beat August heat in Texas. Yeah, I think I don't know what to expect of him outside that he's going to be good. He could possibly be a massive addition.
Coach, in your article, something that caught my eye. You said Shaw's skill set complements the current defensive line rotation perfectly, alongside players like Cole Brevard, Alex January, Melvin Hills, some talented 2025 signees set to join, and 2 more likely portal additions.
Look, so when you look at the defensive line this year, right, the rotations were really magnificent the way they done it and substituting guys in. Guys ready to play first 2 downs, right? You kind of show it. It showed up in the Arizona State game. I know they got winded and tired, but in that fourth quarter and overtime, they were fresh again, right? So be able to put bodies in there and rotate guys in and out so they can make plays and stay fresh is going to be key. So adding another big human just like himself up front really helps the defensive line stay fresh and keeps that rotation, that depth going. I think it really helps develop the younger guys too, because you can bring in older guys like this and let the younger guys kind of play behind them and get valuable snaps throughout the season. And by the end of the season, make another playoff run, they're ready to play and contribute. So they could add more guys from the portal, maybe needed depth-wise, but man, you cannot miss on a guy like this. This is a huge get if you ask me. Guys his size just don't come around too often, right? And that can actually move. Right, you get a lot of guys who are statues and kind of just hold blocks and don't move their feet, but this guy can actually move, so it really helps.
Yeah, that's why you'll hear people, and Eric mentioned it, they'll be like, it doesn't matter that he was a 5-star. It only matters in the fact that he had traits that projected that he could athleticism. Of course, the ranking doesn't matter this late, but it does matter that he has a special size of athleticism. Okay, last things on Shaw, guys, before we move forward?
No, I think, they're going to take 2 more, or at least try to take 2 more.
And at DT or just edge
DT. DT. I don't think they're going to take an edge. I could be wrong. Depends on who comes in. You're always beholden to what the portal gods have to offer. But they'll try to take 2 more. That that doesn't mean they'll take them in the next month. It could happen in the spring. They took 2 last spring. So yeah, we'll see. But that was a big get. You want guys that can eat snaps. The more guys you have that the staff feels good about playing, the fresher everybody else is going to be, which is what Charlie was saying. In 2022, they went 6 deep. That gives you an idea of what they're willing to do. They'll probably, they'd like to get to that point again. Some of that, you got to play some freshmen. These freshmen, they can't sit. So they've got to come in and play, and you've got January's got to play as well. So a big addition. We'll see how big it is. And we also wait to see who else they can offer. Hopefully they get somebody that's about 6'2", 300 pounds that moves like a fullback that can get some penetration for them. We'll see what the portal brings.
Good stuff. All right, guys. Our boy Schefter, I think it was Schefter, right? I think it was. Dropped the bomb. I don't watch those TV shows, so however got into Texas World, I have no idea. But they were just talking about that some NFL teams would be interested in Sark this offseason, and Eric said, yeah, they've been interested in him. So kind of what's the latest? We know that Sark turned down an NFL job to the Oakland Raiders in his 30s, and then Lane Kiffin took it. We know that he coached at the Falcons in the NFL, so there's clearly interest in being in that league. And then there's a couple, anytime he mentions like schematic guys like McVay or Shanahan, those are NFL guys. So there's some ties there, right? But there's a lot of other factors here as well. And also, you're in professional sports already at Texas. So what's kind of the latest there? What do you guys see? To me, the worry about Sark to the NFL is a worry, not now. But like if Sark were to win a championship and kind of, I've done this type of thing, yeah, then sure. But I think it's a little premature. What do you guys think?
And, after they went 5-7 in his first year, there was a lot of talk that offseason, that people don't have anything to write about. They're talking about him being on the hot seat. And I wrote, I said, it's more likely that he will be, he'll win and go on to the NFL than it is that he'll be fired from Texas. And I wrote that knowing that his ultimate goal was the NFL, at least at the time. I think that has evolved over the years to where, he's very happy at Texas. He's compensated very well. He's got a lot of sweat equity in the program. And it's really a match made in heaven for him. I think after 8-5, I think teams were already reaching out to him, even after the 8-5 2022 season, which, they were seeing that he had he had done a masterful job of rebuilding the program already to that point. I'm not really worried about the NFL like you at this point, but yeah, after Arch, if they win a national championship, this guy's obsessed with winning. He doesn't say he's obsessed with winning at Texas. Might just be in general and proving himself. What if he wants to be a guy that can win a national championship in college and the Super Bowl? That'd be quite the feat. So I'm not worried about him right now. But yeah, I think it's something to consider. He's still a relatively young guy, or still a young guy in coaching years. So I wouldn't rule anything out, but I think he's got a lot of work left to do at Texas, and he's perfectly content here.
He seems really goal-oriented as well. Yeah. And once you have the money, right, people are like, he gets paid well, he does. And then if he says he wins here, then he has the success. What's the next component that a young coach would look for? Prestige, right? And becoming one of those offensive minds in the NFL to be mentioned amongst the Shanahan and the McVay, these guys that he talks about often and visits with often.
Well, it's kind of like Saban. If it doesn't work out in the NFL, then he's the hottest coach in college football, no matter what, when he decides to come back, if he reaches the levels that we're talking about. So once you win a natty, you set an extremely high floor for yourself. If he goes to an NFL organization, again, the NFL team might not be timing. It might be timing of who the organization is, who they have a quarterback, the general manager, and all that. Might have something to do with it. It might be, let's say 4 years from now he's ready to do it, but none of the teams entice him. That they're not appealing. That could play a factor as well. But he's definitely focused on the here and now, and that's kind of what all I care about too.
Coach, what do you think?
Look, like you said, something you said, you just mentioned. It's like he runs a pro team now. Like they saw him build Texas, right? You got a lot of roster management and player management now, but you got to deal with the NFL. Almost, not quite, but similar, right? Especially with dealing with NIL now, negotiations and things like that. He's built Texas to a program that competes nationally. Go into that big bad SEC and you're competing. You got guys and dudes who just as big and run fast, right? So he's done a great job building the Texas program. An NFL team definitely sees that, right? They see his potential to get those free agents when they get to the NFL, right? Because people are going to draw to Sark because what he can do on offense. And now he has built an entire team that's a complete team that has defense too. So NFL's team see that it's enticing, but I think he's in a good situation in Texas, man. But they're going to call, right? You have success, that's what happens.
You're going to lose a lot of control too, right? Like you said, he's done all this team building. He's been incredible at all of this stuff. The CEO side, you go to the league, you got GMs. I mean, they're giving you your team. So you're going to coordinate, you're going to have some input, but you're not going to have this level of absolute control too. So that's always interesting to see an NFL head coach versus a college head coach, because normally the college levels are more control freaks than the NFL. So it's just, do you want to relinquish that total control or not? And it seems like it'd be less stressful in the NFL. Most certainly, we've seen coaches make that move to avoid the stress. But it's an interesting topic. Don't think it's valid right now. In the future, sure. All right, Eric, I see you. You want to go into this comment right here?
Well, we got a good super chat too, but either way.
Let's see. Let's do the super chat first. Eric Mitchell, morning, fellas. Appreciate y'all as always. Surely they're closing the roof at Jerry World, right? This weather rolling in has Ohio State benefit written all over it.
Of course they'll have the roof closed. It's going to be in the 30s. Oh, man, I swear, every time I used to do this thing where I'd go to Dallas and always forget warm clothes because the climate in Houston and Dallas is different, or can be quite different. And there were some very, very long, freezing cold walks into AT&T during high school state championship games. So it can get very cold there, but it's not going to, it's going to be nice and toasty inside the stadium. You're not going to have any idea what the weather's like outside. That's not a concern. I think the benefit Ohio people have is probably their ability to navigate roads with a drop of water on them, where I don't think Texans aren't very good at that.
Yeah, that I do not want that to happen. It's starting to say Wednesday, and I might have to go up to the Cotton Bowl for a media thing, and I'm like, please, no ice on the ground. That's going to be tricky. And I wonder if it'll impact the crowd. Maybe not the Ohio State people if they're coming down, but the Texans, I don't know if they're going to go out there on the road.
I don't know how bad it's going to be, first of all, but I don't. If that weather keeps you from going to a game, you are soft.
Yeah, definitely. It was worse than that. The Super Bowl with the Packers in Pittsburgh, right? And people still showed up. So I mean, I don't see.
Well, the worst thing is they might try and then shut down 35 entirely because they wreck on doing something silly, man. It's a joke up here, man. Whenever it snows at all, UT parking is disappointed in everyone. I'm somewhat disappointed in Texas fans. We shouldn't make Ohio State out to be 2020 Bama or 2021 Georgia. They are beatable. Oregon in October, Nebraska and Michigan proved this.
I mean, who
wants to get clipped? Who wants to be the first one on Ohio State Twitter if we lose?
I haven't seen anybody making them out to be unbeatable. I've seen a lot of hyperbole from UT fans. If you write anything somewhat concerning about Texas's chances of winning the game, you'll get back. Well, they should just cancel it then, shouldn't they? Right. If you look at the season totals or the way that they've played, Texas has not played enough clean football for me to be super excited about this matchup. They're going to have to play a clean game against Ohio State, and I haven't seen that. I haven't seen enough consistency. I wrote an article yesterday about the discrepancies between the first half and the second half. I think Texas has scored 9 points in the last 6 games in the third quarter. They absolutely dwarf the point total between the first half and the second half because Texas plays a lot better in the first half than the second half. They have too many turnovers, penalties, special teams have been a mess.
Red zone scoring.
So why on earth would anybody be going into this overly confident about Texas? It's okay to point out the issues. They're going to have to fix these issues if they want to win. They're definitely being talked about internally. Sark talked about going into the Clemson game. I think they had 11 penalties against Georgia. He challenged them to play a much cleaner game. All of a sudden they had 2, and the 2 against Clemson, and then right back and had 10 against Arizona State. And probably would have been 25 if you listen to crybaby Arizona State fans. But yeah, Texas just has to play a lot cleaner. Are we watching the same games? If you watch the games, you can see a lot of inconsistent play from Texas, and that's not going to be good enough to beat a team that's playing just frankly a lot better.
Yeah, that's tough. I mean, nobody's making Ohio State to be that, but just looking at the film and everything else, like it's a competitive matchup. They're a good team, right? They've given up 1 touchdown all year in the third quarter. That was last week to Oregon. Everything else has been 9 points.
Oh, no, I didn't even know that. We can't score in the third quarter, and they don't give up third quarters.
Hold on a second. So when he says this is literally just the last 2 games, now that conventional wisdom might be going off of their last 2 games. I'm going off the fact that they play cleaner, whether it's protecting the football, far fewer turnovers, penalties. They're like 4th or 5th in the nation, far fewer penalties. No, it's based on the entire season. Yes, they lost to Oregon on the road by 1. What value of that is that to us? They just beat the crap out of them in the Rose Bowl. So what does that loss to Oregon mean? It's meaningless. A loss to Michigan, it could be meaningful if Texas wants to play defense like Michigan. Maybe that'll help them. I think that loss to Michigan is more psychological than anything else. I would throw that one out the window. So I'm not going by these last 2 games. I'm going by a season of watching Texas very closely, in which they don't play clean football for 4 quarters very often, and also that Ohio State has an equally talented team as Texas, an equally experienced team to Texas. They've got matchups on offense that could take away Texas's strength when you look at wide receivers versus secondary. This is going to be a tough game, and I think that Texas is an underdog justifiably.
My thing is Ohio State's talented, so is Texas. If Texas was not shooting themselves in the foot all the time and was super trustworthy, then yeah, pick them.
Right.
But the problem is our red zone scoring has been an issue all year. Well, after we played like the UTSAs of the world, and then the penalties and all that stuff. Like the Georgia game was for the taking. We lost the Georgia game, and that's what I'm worried about. That kind of stuff is what's nerve-wracking against a really good Ohio State team. But it doesn't mean that Texas can't win. No one's saying that.
Is Ohio State in the Eastern time zone? I get so confused with time zones.
I have no idea.
I don't think they are.
Where is Columbus?
I think they're Central. And they're certainly not having to go 2 time zones.
They're Eastern.
Maybe that's what he's talking. Okay, well, they're going 1 time zone. Anyway, it's an hour difference, 6:30 versus 7:30 to them.
Yeah, they'll be all right. Love being a dog, though. That is fun, right? This is the first time Sark can play up the psychological. Yep. They don't believe in us. They don't think we can do it. And then Sark a little chippy, right, in the press conference whenever they were asking him about their wide receivers. He's like, I hope we can cover them. I thought that was kind of funny. Sark's been intense, man. In the last 4 weeks of press conferences and stuff, Sark is angry.
I think he's still mad from that game day when they brought him on later, and he just had that face the entire. He's had a mean mug since about that.
Someone slapped him in the back, and he got stuck in this.
Hey, man. Get your team, challenge the team. You challenge them against Clemson. They had two penalties. They're gonna have to do that again. Apparently, you're gonna have to tackle better. It's gonna be a tough game. I don't think anybody's saying they can't win. That would be stupid. But nobody's any overconfident Texas fans are equally dumb as somebody saying that they can't win.
Yeah, because no one's saying it can't happen either. And I was watching Ohio State, Tennessee in the first half last night. They do some interesting stuff, but they've also changed offensive styles since that Michigan game, and that's important. So it's you're not playing the team that lost to Oregon, and you're not schematically playing the team that lost to Michigan. But it doesn't mean to. We switch so fast, right? Oregon was the greatest thing ever, and then Ohio State blew them out, and now Oregon doesn't. Things change so fast in college football. So we have 2 weeks of really good data. So I can see people that are like, hey, it's 2 weeks of good data. They're playing well. But if Texas does beat them, that narrative just changes immediately. We swing so wildly, so quickly on teams going up and down. So LC here with the elite level analysis. Texas is historically 2-1 versus Ohio State. So we clearly hold an advantage.
Yeah, that home game was frustrating because Texas they had lost so much talent from the year before. Everybody hyped up that rematch. The Texas was still pretty good in 2006, and they were just outgunned. Didn't Ohio State win the national championship in 2006? I think they might have. And then you had the Fiesta Bowl, Quan Cosby diving across the goal line, and then of course the one Andrew Kelson was part of 2005. It's been a good rivalry, and got a game going into next season. So
that's what's annoying, because whoever loses this will be like, "We'll see you at the beginning of next season." Dude, I hate fans.
That better not happen.
Well, it's going to happen immediately, dude.
But if Texas wins, then you got to say, "Well, get used to it, fellas. We'll see you in August."
Yeah, but that's going to be the game immediately. All right, flip side from Splendid Daddy, formerly known as Sugar Daddy. Even when everything went horribly wrong with Georgia, we only lost by 2 scores. Sark hasn't been blown out since Arkansas in year 1.
I don't know anybody predicting a blowout. That'd be ludicrous. Texas defense is going to keep them. Yeah, look, my source of optimism for this game, and I'm not saying that I think Texas is going to win. I'm not there. Is that I think a dogfight for 4 quarters is going to force them to be focused, force them to be aggressive, and it's going to force their hand. They're not going to be up by 18 points going into the second half, where I think they tend to lose focus, tend to be more careless with the ball, and have more penalties. So I think a dogfight is going to be good for them, and then it's going to come down to which team can steal it in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
Texas gets to pick as the home team, right? What jersey they want to wear, what combo.
Yeah.
So we like the icy whites better, so we pick
whites.
I think that's what they like. It didn't work in the SEC championship game, but
Yeah. I just love the which jersey is going to help us. It's like, guys, if we're worried about jerseys at the end of the week, practice did not go well.
Exactly.
We are a red zone fumble away from winning the game in 2006.
I remember.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that game ended up being closer than the score. I don't know. It's all hazy. There was a lot of beers that day. Me and my boys all went up there looking for a fight because of how they treated their fans, Texas fans, the year before, and then all the OSU fans we met were actually quite friendly, and that's when you learn the selection bias of people that have money to travel versus the selection bias of fans that come in from out of towns looking for a fight around Columbus. So,
what's weird is I've always notoriously heard Ohio State fans are like the worst of the worst. I've never really interacted with them heavily enough to say it, but like they're known in like college football being like really, I guess, mean-spirited fans.
I think the ones that travel are, kind of just like everybody else. And then you go around them and it's something about their jort wearing. I guess you call them t-shirt fans, whatever.
It's the disposable income fans that come to Cotton Bowl that are a little nicer. But I don't know. I've never experienced it firsthand, so I have no idea. I just heard.
Oh man, there's no horror stories. I've got I've got a lot of older friends that just there's no chance in hell that they'll go to the game because of their experience in 2005.
Wow.
Does anyone else think we had inordinately bad luck so far in big games? Georgia fumbles not being recovered, Auburn field goals. Mm-hmm. So fumble recoveries like over the season end up being 50-50. So that argument of like bouncing that way, sure, there's a little bit of actual luck in there. Auburn missing field goals, that's not luck. He's missing field goals. He's averaging like 60%
in domes.
Yeah, in domes. Yeah, it's not bad luck. The other teams are good too. They just happen to make plays.
Yeah, it's not luck. It's just he's not scoring when he's kicking.
And if you look at fumble, how many fumbles has Texas not lost that they fumbled and recovered? Oh my gosh, man, it's got to be as many as they've fumbled and lost.
Yeah. There's the fumble like recovery stuff technically can be 50-50, so that's where I lean on luck. But anything that like we're just missing execution, that's not luck to me.
Right. Too often. And what about pre-snap penalties that always get them behind the sticks? We saw 2 of those against Arizona State. It's just, man, it's for being such an experienced team, it's hard to explain.
We have none of the benefits of experience.
Yeah, maybe some physical maturity, and that's I don't know. They don't play consistently enough like you'd expect from a team as experienced as they are.
We have so many opinions on Ohio State. Even the travel ones are bad, Eric. LC counters, they're fine outside of Columbus. So our fans have had a range of experience. Geronimo appreciated the Jorts comment.
Yeah, that was a good one.
If Texas fans are looking for a place to go before the game, come see us at Grease Monkey. It's in Arlington. You can look it up. Inside Texas fans, show your login credentials and you get free beer. Come see us. And there's also a shuttle. The shuttle is $10.50 to the game and back. Plenty of parking there, so that'll save you a lot of money on parking. Come have some beers with us at Grease Monkey.
Do you put Barron on Smith or bracket him and let Barron take wide receiver 2 on the opposite side? When I was talking to Ian about it last week, I think Ian wanted always a bracket or a double on Smith. So I guess Manny and then Taff over the top. So there's help there. And then he wanted to put Barron as number 2 on Emeka, but they also put him in the slot a ton. So it's like, do you end up burning him on Carnell Tate? And anything you do, Ohio State's just going to move and motion you out of it, So it's like, theoretically, we can be like, he's on him. But I was just watching the Skycast of Tennessee and Ohio State, and they're just going to play with that and find their matchups. It's tough. I say play 2 high safeties. But when you do that, they're going to send the drag or the mesh. Yep. And Vance, what do you think? I was going to say, yeah, Vance, we need you. Here. Yeah, man. How do you stop a number 1 receiver like that when they also have a number 2 receiver like that?
There he is.
Okay. High low him. I like that.
High low him. Okay. Who do you want on him? Do you want Manny and then Taff up top? Who do you want personnel wise on him?
Wouldn't we just going to cut to the chase and start bringing him on these lives?
Yep. Come on here. We need to get him on deep dive with Paul and Ian so they can talk scheme, but also he's probably like, hey man, I don't do this for free, man. I'm not giving you guys, I'm not doing defensive breakdowns for free here. We're mostly a match 3 zone defense. We don't follow players in man very much. Correct.
Yeah.
Don't play match 3 that often here. Keep 2 safeties. Ian's doing a lot of work, guys. Trust me. Ian is in the bunker. He is doing everything he can to try to come up with ways to stop Ohio State here. So he's going to have some really good stuff. Of course, when we do the show on Wednesday and then deep dive, we'll have much more. Earlier in the week, we're kind of a little more vague. We start to hone in as we get more tape in.
I've seen some people say, play the old Belichick method, right? Put your second best corner on them and double and put Barron on the other. The problem is, like, they got so many weapons. You don't know. Like, Emeka has just as many catches as Smith. He's not as dangerous after the catch, but, like, you kind of pick your poison, right? So I think you just got to mix it up, man. You can't just play too high all game. Like, they're going to find a way.
Oh,
you just got to just mix it up just all game.
Yeah. Cloud him. Okay, so keep a corner down low. You stop that by sacking Will Howard. Yeah, hopefully. That'd be nice. Vance does want to match him up with the best corner.
Yeah, put me down for sacking Will Howard. I didn't know that was an option. Okay, yeah, well, let's just stack him 8 times. And that'll work.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, Howard is not nearly as dangerous as the quarterback they just played, or Klubnik for that matter, with his legs. He's good on design runs, but he does not move around as naturally or as quickly as Levitt or Klubnik. So I think that's a big advantage. Plus, they have quite a bit of familiarity. Now they're going to call some design runs that they haven't really used a whole lot of this year because they got to win. They got to leave it all on the field. So that Texas going to have to be ready for that.
Michigan ran their D, but ran 50% cloud to him. Victor, this is also what Ian's been saying, cover 6 and with the cover 2 side over Smith. But also they're running so many crossers. That's what I'm saying. They're going to break it. You just got to just hope when you call that you call at the right times. It's going to be a big coordination issue. But it's going to, hey man, this challenge is what we need, man. And we have the best secondary. Now, normally number 1 wide receivers versus number 1 secondary wide receivers win because the offensive rules are geared towards offense, right? But hey man, we have the secondary to play this game.
You got the D line versus their O line, which Vance has mentioned a couple times here as an advantage for Texas. That could be the game changer. I mean, if you look at the unstoppable Tom Brady teams, how did they lose? They didn't lose because of Eli Manning. They lost because of New York Giants defensive line won those Super Bowls. So we need a massive game from the Texas D line, and they're capable of it.
Yeah, the pass rush is going to be interesting here. And they're pretty much just running counter now.
Man, I'm about to drive to Dallas right now. I'm getting ready for this damn game.
They simplified it a lot. We talked about it before the show, but they just simplified it to what they do best. Like, forget everything else. What do we do best so we can execute at a high level? That's all they've done, honestly. So, counter a lot.
Learning a lot of counter. We need to stop that. It's going to be fun, man. The Will Howard thing, people have talked about PK's face Will Howard, X times, 1 every time. I think that matters when you know tendencies and kind of where he can make mistakes. he can handle stress poorly in those big moments. We saw like versus Oregon where he did that weird slide, and versus us when he did that weird slide. But also, this is not Will Howard with Kansas State receivers.
Right.
People look different with who they can throw to.
Yeah, Coach Buffer mentioned that on Twitter. Kansas State, he made it work, but now he has like actual real weapons at Ohio State. So
yeah, it's a difference. It's a different thing, man. He's also, I think is he the most veteran? Who do you have? Riley Leonard. He's got to be older than him. He's older than Aller, so he's got to be. Those veteran QBs have been cheating the game lately. With a veteran O-line and Hugh Schuman's mentality, why do we play so bad?
I don't know. They don't play bad. They play inconsistent. They're either running all over people or not running at all, and that is hard to explain. They're facing different types of fronts versus Georgia, which is the larger athletic front, versus Arizona State, smaller, quicker, more movement. They struggled with both. But I mean, nobody was saying that they play so bad when they ran all over A&M, when they ran all over Clemson, when they ran all over OU. So that's too hyperbolic. But why don't they play better in year 4 of Flood and year 3 of most of these guys playing together? That is a question. Now they're good pass blockers too, so there's a whole nother 50% of the game right there. So are they going to be able to run this week? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't feel great about it.
Texas's main run scheme is outside zone. I was watching the PFF guys yesterday. Ohio State's run defense is the best run defense in the country against outside zone.
Yeah, and that's not Sark's preferred run scheme. That's the one that they feel they can run better.
Exactly.
And that's a little unfortunate. I think if you're looking for a bounce to the upside next year, that might surprise people is better ability to run inside zone for Sark. Changing the inside and the interior 3 changing is going to be probably a positive towards running more inside zone. Right now, I think outside zone is their best scheme, but they're going to have to break some tendencies this week.
Yeah, that's what I think too. Yeah. Outside zone can't be the base run scheme here, especially with how good Ohio State does against it, because you're going to end up getting stuffed again. Yeah. I'm also going to study on the All-22, the run game again versus Arizona State, so I'll have some more stuff on what went wrong in that game.
Man.
All right. Let's see. In a perfect world, their biggest weapon should be Will Howard trying to run because the coverage on the back end is so tight. Yeah, in a perfect world, I would love it if Will Howard had to be the threat, but man, they got guys.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, Eric. You make a solid point here. All right, guys, before we keep going, let's hear from Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
Right now, Andre the Lawyer is fighting to find us sweet tickets. So let's hope him some success for Friday.
Fight the good fight. Let's see. I'm trying to catch up on these comments.
This is a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to get him in the telenovela accent.
Yeah, that'll go great for us. All right. Cam Williams is a big key. Him and Campbell blocking are like Mack trucks. It is important that we have Campbell or Cam likely back, right? I think that's going to help.
Yeah, you need some more power. Goosby's got all the movement skills and everything you're looking for there, but yeah, a little bit more backside was going to help get displacement. So he was. Joe said that he was practicing. Campbell looked like he was practicing more than he had been the last couple of weeks, and so we'll have to get some information from our team sources and see what the likelihood is of him playing. Now, there's some hallmarks that Steve Sarkisian gives away. If you start hearing about game time decision, that's not good. If you hear that he's questionable rather than probable, that's not good. So, well, they don't have to do that now, but we'll get you the bottom line over on Inside Texas and have you, we've been basically hinting or telling our readers what to expect injury wise going into these games.
Yeah, Coach, anything that sticks out to you when you watch these matchups? Specifically, you're like, uh-oh, or that's going to be good to exploit.
How good and big and fast and athletic their defensive ends are, their edges. Normally run outside zone, they set the edge very well. The 3-high look, they don't really play it deep as most teams like Oklahoma or Iowa
Looks like
State.
a Tampa 2, yeah.
Yeah, that Tampa 2. They use Caleb Downs. He's close in the box. So you got to account for him. But then he's so athletic and quick, you never know where he's going to be post-snap. They do a good job mixing up. Just watching the All-22 versus Oregon, man, they did a great job of kind of mixing that Tampa 2 3-high look in. So I'm wondering, everybody said that's Sark's nemesis. You got to be able to run the ball versus it, right? And get him out of with some heavy personnel that we've probably been begging for all year. But we'll see what happens with that. I think that's going to be a key.
Yeah, he stands at like that, 10 yards. And I'm just like, is that number 2 right there? And he's just standing there waiting because he has the makeup speed that if they do take off on him, he can turn around and run. Vance said, Ohio State is working on stopping the outside zone. We need to run counter. I'm down with that. Especially if they're going 3-high, right? You're going to have to be able to pull guys around. You're going to have to be able to get number advantages. So, yeah, I think the logic here is you can't trust your base run game strategy. You're going to have to change it up here. And I need to see. Caleb Downs can be beat over the top.
Freshman Caleb Downs playing for Alabama. I mean, we saw that. Has that happened frequently? It's, Malachi Starks got beat over the top this year. I mean, it's going to happen. Yeah, it'll happen. Everybody gets beat, but I mean, it's not. Who's going to beat him over the top, and will they catch it? DeAndre Moore running down the middle of the field has the speed to do it.
Yeah, that's going to be tough.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how Sark is able to. I mean, he was able to target Alford and Arizona State. Sark straight up did target Caleb Downs, but he targeted him because he was a young player, not because he was unathletic.
Yeah, he did a lot of good things to get that open that I'm not sure they're going to be as worried about. They had Xavier Worthy that they were focused on at the time. And, as we had a source mention yesterday, the drop-off at wide receiver is really something that people haven't talked about enough. And a lot of that is affected by Isaiah Bond's injury. But, that Texas had better receivers last year. Here's a question about next year. Or it would be if I could bring it up. There it is. Can Neto – yes, he's got the traits to be an exceptional run blocker. And that is exactly what they need. You can have an interior next year of Neto, Cole Hudson at center, and DJ Campbell. And if you can't run inside zone with that, then I don't know, man. I just don't know.
Yeah. We need a healthy Bond in a bad way. What's the latest there on Bond?
Practicing better. I mean, he's moving better than he has in a long time. I like these longer layoffs, even though if it's an extra day or two here or there, those add up. We'll have to get another practice report. I'll probably have a practice report up. What's today? Monday. Monday's like their first real practice. I don't know, probably tomorrow night or something. But yeah, we'll get the latest on him. I expect him to play a lot. There's, you have to play. This is an elimination game, that you see it in baseball. You start throwing your starters out of the bullpen. I mean, they got to throw starters out of the bullpen this week.
Yeah, I've heard it they'll talk about Cam or whatever. It's like he's maybe a go. It's like, what do you mean maybe? There's no future. It's either you're done for the season or you can go. There's not a next game to be like he'll get it back.
Yeah.
Let me see. I'm excited about Neto. It'll be interesting to watch the line change.
Yeah, that'll be fun. We have exceptional spring ball content. You get a practice report pretty much after every spring, and we'll tell you with the depth chart who's moving up, who's playing well, and we don't often have surprises on personnel. During the season, we can usually tell going into the season who's going to have a good year and who's probably not going to play as well as they should, or as well as you'd like.
Yeah, man. We may see a more Michigan-like game plan. We'll see, because also PK doesn't really change his defense a lot. There's all these they could do this to really change, and he really doesn't. There's not a lot of incentive to do so. I mean, I hope he does, but it's like, hey, we have one of the best defenses in the country, and coaches can kind of be like, we're going to keep doing what's working.
Yeah, he's a fastball pitcher. He's not throwing much off speed. and it challenges you to hit it. So sometimes that's terrifying. Who's given up the most home runs in the history of baseball? It's always power pitchers. So that's a bit of a concern. But it's worked so far. Hey, let's get to my favorite comment of the day so far.
Drew M. I'm locked in. Subscribe to IT for the year.
We appreciate you, boss.
Appreciate you, dude.
Hey, homie, want some? Watching that game versus Michigan, their interior D-line took over the game completely. They couldn't really do much in the run game because those two guys in the middle. Honestly, so way to stop Ohio State with the counter and all the runs. The interior guys got to have one of their best games.
Just to have 2 first-round DT.
And you know what else happened that might be relative to this game is their Ohio State's field goal kicker missed two. One was 38, one was 34, I think. So Ohio State, kind of like the Texas game this past week where it should have been over. Ohio State should have won that game. They've got some kicker issues as well.
Also, Howard threw dumb picks and gave them super short fields.
That is not something that's not only unique to Michigan. He's done that in the past.
Yeah.
They're not. Texas feels pretty good about this matchup against Howard, and I don't think it's just familiarity. It's just kind of who he is as a player. He's not Sam Levitt, where that kid Levitt's, that kid's phenomenal, and it's not just that he moves around with his legs; that he sees the game at a very high level.
Yeah.
Will Howard can be mistake prone, and it wasn't just going up against Michigan's defense.
Yep.
Yeah, but also he still scarred me from when he ran for 70 yards on.
I remember that one. That's young Will Howard, man. He had better legs at that point. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Whole different defense now.
Oh, literally different human beings. Yeah, it's a different thing, but it's still funny. Man, they used to mess with him so bad at Kansas State. They would constantly switch in Avery Johnson or who is the QB that went to the fake NFL? What's it, USFL or whatever?
Who's the other
Adrian Martinez.
Yeah,
and they would do this super patronizing thing with Howard where they'd be like, man, you're such a leader, dude. Thank you so much. But also half the time this other quarterback's going to be in. And whenever he was leaving, I knew it was going to be a matter of time. I'm glad he left because K-State was playing around with him.
Yeah.
He doesn't need to be splitting reps with running quarterbacks. Wild. Okay, we're not talking about our kicking game. We all know how we feel about that.
What in the world?
I think, LC is talking about his elitist coffee setup, how he grinds his coffee beans. Some of these are funny, but I'm not putting
Knock on wood, man. It's second time somebody mentioned I-35 shutting down. Don't talk like that.
Yeah. Well, that's the problem, man. Is like I said, it's not about when people try to go. People will try to go.
Yeah. Somebody's missing this game.
But some dummy is going to spin out on 35. That's going to be tricky.
Get down there early. Come over to Grease Monkey. Have a beer.
Yeah, that's true. Get there on Thursday night, guys.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Paul's proposed kamikaze strategy of going for every fourth down?
Well, that's not exactly what he said, but the gist of that article, and it's free. I encourage you to go over to InsideTexas.com, scroll the front page. There's a lot of free content up there. Find Paul's. I forget the exact title of it. It'll come to you when you see it. He's just talking about understanding your limitations at field goal kicker should inform how aggressive you are once you get to the other side of the field. And I think that makes a lot of sense. He states it as a very good case. He also says in this game, we are Arizona State. And I think that informs the article quite a bit. You can kind of tell the gist of it from there. Texas has to be aggressive, but they have to be smart, and they have to be cognizant of their play call expansion going from, kicking forward on fourth to understanding you got 4 downs to work with, and that should inform your first down call as much as anything else. But he's going to be on there tonight. He'll be on the live tonight, and we'll pound him with it. Come with your contrarian takes. Let's see if we can make his turn bright red.
We'll do Ohio State breakdown tomorrow on the morning show too. So Paul will tell you all about it.
The best way to get Paul going is to hit him with sports announcer cliches. You got to take the points, stuff like that. Hit him with that. He loves it. Make sure you bring it up.
Yeah, you'll get him talking in no time. Before we keep talking, though, guys, let's hear from Laura Baker.
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Another legendary LC ad read.
All right.
Is Sharon Moore besties with Sark this week?
Maybe Scallion. Who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know how they feel after he beat them. I mean, he'll absolutely work with an opponent to take down Ohio State. The last thing Michigan wants is Ohio State winning the national championship right after they won the national championship and canceling that out.
Yeah, right. You saw the article. The Northern Illinois coach, I guess, supposedly met up with Notre Dame's head coach, tell him all about his weaknesses and how they beat him and stuff like that, trying to help him out.
I didn't know that,
Yeah. Apparently, they had to talk about it. So maybe more helps out Sark. Who knows?
I don't think it's more needs to help out Sark. That offense didn't do anything against Ohio State. Maybe who's a weak Martindale?
Martindale might.
Yeah,
Martindale might.
Maybe weak Martindale talking to PK might help. But I don't think we want Sharon Moore unless he wants. Hey, you want to trade one of those big backs to Texas, or hell, even Alex Orji can go back there and play running back for Texas. But I don't think Sharon's a great help. But take PK.
Yeah.
Hey.
Apparently giving up almost 300 yards against Texas was too much for Dabo. He has fired his defensive coordinator.
That kind of looked like, I don't know. They look like they kind of quit to me. They didn't play with a ton of effort up front. It seemed like, but that's going to be an interesting team next year. They've got some pieces next year that would have fit on their national championship teams. I don't know if they have the depth and the overall talent that they once did, but they'll probably win that crappy conference again.
Paul said it best. They play worse than the sum of their parts because they have real NFL dudes, but whenever you put it all together, for some reason, there's a disconnect there. And when that's occurring, normally a coaching issue. And so it makes sense that the defense was struggling and you fire the DC. Dabo in the sacrificing coordinators phase. Yep.
That's how it usually goes.
But I don't even know what he can do there to get fired. It seems like he's a made man. It seems like he's going to be all right.
Yeah, he's tenured, but I think he still needs to adapt to the modern era. What he just finally took a transfer portal.
Yep. Finally.
Good for him, man.
I mean, you look at so we're talking about Texas and Ohio State, the two teams that have probably done the best managing the portal, not just the portal, because a lot of Ohio State's success this year is keeping guys out of the draft. Similar to Texas, keeping Alfred Collins, Jahdae Barron out of the draft, maybe even Quinn Ewers you can add to that. And then, Ohio State kept a number of guys out of the draft.
Yeah.
And then also going out, recruiting at a high level, and then supplementing through the portal. So you've got Texas and Ohio State kind of at the forefront of that conversation of really taking advantage of all the aspects of the modern era, and then Clemson on the other end of it. Or then other teams like Ole Miss, where they tend to just be portal heavy. You got to mix and match it all. And these are the two teams that are the best at it. And they're probably the two teams that are the best two teams remaining in the playoffs.
Agreed.
2-11 in bowl games, 0-13 against the spread. ACC is garbage. Do you guys want to talk about the death of the SEC that has apparently occurred, according to Twitter?
No, but I do. I mean, I'm fine with it. First of all, we don't give a damn about the conference outside of it. It was a good move.
I care about eyeballs and their fans watch. So I care about the business side.
I care about recruits wanting to play in a very competitive conference. But I think people that have said, and this is something I've mentioned, long ago, that NIL was going to be something that leveled the playing field for everybody. That's why I was so excited about NIL when it got announced in 2021 for Texas. Like all of a sudden, they're going to be able to compete with LSU, Alabama, Georgia,
right,
schools that have no business recruiting at a high level like Auburn and some others. So but it's not just a neutralizer for Texas; it's a neutralizer for schools all over the place. So I'm not surprised to see the field being leveled, and I'm happy to see it.
I think one of the weaknesses that I would hear about a couple of years ago of like the SEC being quote unquote dominant. Yeah, whenever you have Saban and Kirby, but you knew Saban's retirement was coming, right? And then you just have Kirby on top. Kirby's not doing great. The Longhorns are ascending, but we don't know where that's going to end up. So it was easy to say, like, they've had this decade or whatever, 15 years of dominance, but I thought you had to keep adding teams too. Like, I thought the Big Ten adding Oregon, adding those teams was really valuable.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not as hard as it's been, and it's definitely not as top heavy as it's been. But like I said, I'm not an SEC fan. I don't wake up in the morning. I don't have an SEC channel. So it's, yeah, but it is funny to hear. I get it. All the fans have been so exhausted. Every other conference has been exhausted about hearing about the SEC stuff. So they're kind of dancing on the grave now, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the SEC still has advantages that nobody else can compete with, largely demographics of getting giant bodies that can move extremely well. Those guys are going to be more likely to stay closer to home. So that's an advantage that is not going to go away anytime soon.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, I like it. I don't like Ohio State at all, but part of me likes it when they're good. And not that they're ever not good. They're pretty much always good, but it's good for the sport that at least they were fighting SEC hegemony with pretty much by themselves. Michigan the last year, but during Harbaugh, they were up and down a lot during Harbaugh. I mean, Harbaugh almost got fired early on, or they were talking about an amicable split. Really, it was Ohio State doing the bidding for pretty much everybody else. OU, I guess, a little bit here and there. I don't think they're ever really a credible threat to beat an SEC team, but they're at least putting up a fight. But now it's, now we're seeing, and God damn, you don't want to root for Oregon either. I don't know. Maybe I just want the SEC to dominate. I don't know. I've got to rethink this.
I think it's becoming kind of like the resurgence. I think it'll end up being the resurgence of the blue bloods. It'll be more about being old money than it is about conference. Miami is kind of back in it. SC needs to wake up.
You still need the right coach. Yeah, you still need the right USC. You got to have the right coach. I don't know. Penn State's this is one of their better teams. I mean, not just because they're in the playoffs. You could see it earlier on. I felt the way they played Ohio State earlier in the season showed that they were more legit than they had been in the past. But yeah, it's obviously you've got people that are you've got schools that are ascending because of the climate we're in.
Yeah.
It is funny because all the SEC fans that rep it, they're like emotionally in a weird spot because they hate Texas.
They do.
They love the SEC, so they're like, "What do we do here?"
Texas shoulders get a little heavy here.
Don't cheer for Texas. Wow, I mean, Texas fans and the school doesn't need your fandom,
right?
Yeah.
No, we're good. Stay on that side.
we got the days, but it is funny to watch kind of the mental gymnastics of like the channels that exist following all of the SEC and that kind of stuff. Let's see.
Yeah, the SEC can't live in its cocoon anymore, which is definitely good for the sport.
This is interesting. Can we eliminate the powder puff games to help reduce the number of games? Would help with injury risk. So I would at first say, like, without the reducing the number, like, can we play less powder puffs? That's good for us, but absolutely not. You saw how this playoff rankings went, and it was all about the number of wins. So you want to keep it at 8 games. It's not the best product, but we saw how the committee does this. They want you to win, so you want powder puffs and you want 8. But it would be interesting to say less games. But also the coaches are going to like that because those are scrimmages.
Is he talking about less games for the playoffs or overall for the season?
I think he's saying get rid of the cupcake games. So
yeah, like non-conference
teams.
It would basically like get rid of 1 or 2, like when you play directional state. But also the coaches love those scrimmages because you can figure out what you got. They are scrimmages, by the way.
It would wreak economic havoc on a lot of those smaller schools too, which I think should be somewhat of a consideration because they've got to subsidize all these scholarships, and scholarships for these kids are a good thing. So, but I definitely get it. I mean, does it? Yeah, I see it on both sides.
Yeah. But yeah, basically, you're paying these, you're getting them a weight room, by them playing these games and stuff like that. It matters.
Get some of these programs out the red. Honestly, man, it helps a ton.
Yeah, it is weird. Like, here's $1.3 million to basically take a dive,
or scout with today's time. You got a good player. Maybe.
I like one out of conference matchup. Test yourself in cupcakes. That's pretty much Texas's game plan. I mean, but most teams don't even play the test yourself conference out of conference. That's what I love about Texas. At least we scheduled the money games. They got to be frustrating if we lose them, but hey, man.
It doesn't really matter as much in the expanded playoff era. What do they got? Michigan coming up, then they just rescheduled. You got Ohio State next year. Is there another Michigan game? I know they just signed up Notre Dame for 2 years. So
yeah, because doesn't Michigan have to come back to us? Because wasn't that part of the deal? Wasn't that part of the deal?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. I'm not thinking about
the Ohio State game was part of the deal or something.
I don't know.
Big Fox was like, we need a little something here to let you ESPN get this going.
It's great marketing, and we know that Texas loves great marketing.
Yeah. I think networks are going to push SEC to 9 games.
Networks, a lot of teams want them. The teams that don't want them are the teams that don't really have a say. But Texas coming into the SEC certainly wanted to go to 9. Usually it's what the big dogs in this conference want, and what makes more financial sense is what happens.
Right.
So it's going to go to 9. It's just a matter of when.
The committee better wake up, though, man. We've got to normalize everything. Everyone needs to play 9 conference. We got to figure out a conference. If we play Ohio State, you can't play directional states and that be qualified as equal. We got to figure this out, man. I think we need to play 10 conference games to even out the interconference strength issues. I mean, I think some would have. Well, some conferences should have to play 10. Let's see. Michigan plays in DKR in
2027.
27. That's the fun part, man. At least we schedule some fun games.
Bryce Underwood versus who knows who.
Yeah,
yeah, who would that be? Trey Owens, KJ, or Dia, right, at that point?
Yeah. Well, who even knows? Well, yeah, Bryce would have to be there, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Would be his third year.
We got the CJ Rogers pickup, too. We didn't talk about the Houston Christian quarterback.
Yeah, I've known that kid since he was in 5th grade. Really good dual sport athlete growing up. Got burnt out on football. Didn't play it all through high school, but he was kind of like a phenom's not the right word, but he was a very, very well-known kid in Houston. Camped at Texas, and Major Applewhite pulled him off to the side when he was 10 years old, 12 years old, and threw with him for a while, just knowing that kid had a bright future. Got burnt out, went to Argyle, picked it back up, ended up walking on to Baylor. Really is a talented kid that could play. I think if he had been bought in the whole time and played, he would have been a much better known recruit, would have been a scholarship. Strong arm kid, emergency quarterback. Good kid, great family. But he's, you hope not to see him, just given the circumstances. You hope not to see really anybody other than Trey Owens in backup in garbage time. But you really want to have 4 quarterbacks, break glass in case of emergency.
Yeah, the genius Twitter users were like, he's not beating out Arch. It's like, you guys don't understand roster management. You need 4 quarterbacks. No one's saying first off, whenever we said preferred walk on, that should have been your hint.
Right.
Yeah, we had people on IT going, man, we need a 4th string quarterback. We need DTs. Like that was going to preclude them from taking it. Golly, man.
I know, it's brutal. It's like, no one's saying he's beating Arch out here, guys. You have to fill out your rosters. Also, there's practices occurring. You split up the teams. You need quarterbacks for different.
I was just about to say, scout team, he'll come and be very, very important on the scout team, right? Yeah. If he can really, really throw like that, he'll give the Texas defense.
He can throw and he can move. There's not going to be using like a Aaron Butler as your Alex Orji analog. So, yeah, he can move. You just play your quarterback and he can move around. So
there you go. Will Howard in practice. There you go.
Yeah, he would have been – exactly. He would have been Will Howard in practice. Would have been Sam Levitt in practice. Yeah. And he's got enough arm to give them a credible look for sure.
It.
Yeah. Could see it being Bryce Underwood versus Arch. Not in 27.
Man.
Y'all getting greedy.
Because that would be a 3rd year of Arch, wouldn't it? Or am I tripping? Would that just be a 2nd year of Arch?
No, that would be his 3rd year playing.
Yeah.
25 and 26 and outie. Go number 1 and go defend the Manning honor in the NFL, win a couple Super Bowls.
Sounds good to him. Need diversity on scout team. Yeah, you need you guys to provide looks.
Trust me, you really do.
I think he's talking about white people. Need white people on scout team.
That's true. The funny ones with the new guys coming in, like Justice and Lance Jackson, they have to play on the scout team, but those are not scout team level players, which is so they get to play against the ones, right?
They'll never, none of those guys will ever be scout teamers again.
I know, and that's why it's funny because you're like, this is the scout team guy that I'm having to reps against as a first teamer.
It was funny there. They had Justice Terry and Lance Jackson. I was like, these are usually your first off the bus type of guys, and they're on there on the scout team.
Yeah,
hearing good things about those guys already.
Good stuff. All right, any final thoughts, guys? Or are we good to go?
I mean, I was sitting here wondering if it's ironclad law that we have to do an exact hour. I was wondering, we were laboring the last 3 or 4 minutes, but
it's law.
Okay, all right,
it's YouTube law. All right, guys. Tonight we have Monday Night Live. We also are going to have the offense today. Yesterday we did defensive players speak. Today the offensive players are going to speak. They're going to be speaking at 4:15. We should have the video up. You guys can hear them talk about. Normally get it up around 5:30 when they're all done, so you guys can watch that Monday Night Live. And then of course tomorrow morning show will be myself and Paul, and we'll be breaking down Ohio State much more in depth. I'm looking forward to talking about that with you guys. And I'm also looking forward to the Ohio State fans in the chat that will undoubtedly be there.
Yeah.
All right, fans, thank you. Eric, Coach, thank y'all, and hook 'em.